A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. It's great to see all of you right here. Welcome to Supercomputing Asia 2022, organized by the National Supercomputing Center Singapore, NSCC. Now, this is a hybrid event, and it's always nice to see people in the flesh. And of course, we have our virtual audience right here. Let's welcome each other right here with a round of applause, shall we, ladies and gentlemen, right here at SCA 2022. I'm Ravi, your host for the conference. The Supercomputing Asia SCA conference is co-organized by HPC centers from Singapore, Japan, and Australia, and is an annual conference that encompasses an umbrella of notable supercomputing allied events right here in Asia. The aim is to promote a vibrant and shared high-performance computing HPC ecosystem for both the public and private sectors in Asia. We will be starting this morning, ladies and gentlemen, with two keynote addresses and thereafter talks from our industry experts. The breakout tracks, which happen in the afternoon, will showcase, as mentioned, our notable supercomputing and allied events right here in Asia. There will also be an ongoing exhibition showcase, as I mentioned earlier, on your right, of course, featuring our valued sponsors. It's going to be a great day. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I take pleasure in inviting up on stage the chairman of the NSCC Steering Committee to deliver his welcome address. Please welcome Mr. Peter Ho.
Dr. Janil Puthucheary, Senior Minister of State, Ministry of Communications and Information, and Ministry of Health, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the National Supercomputing Center of Singapore, I welcome you to the Supercomputing Asia 2022. And once again, we are very pleased to be co-organizing SCA 2022 with our partners from Australia and Japan. As economies begin to reopen and the pandemic situation improves, 2022 is looking to be a year of reboots and fresh starts. Although a hybrid conference, SCA 22 is the first opportunity since 2019 for many of us to meet in person. We welcome all of you who are joining us today, especially those who are with us in person, and most of all, to our overseas visitors who have made the effort to travel to Singapore. We are happy that our commercial partners and sponsors are returning in strength this year. Thanks to your interest and support, SCA 22 is playing host to over 800 participants from more than 14 countries and 60 different organizations. 2022 is a milestone year for NSCC and for the Singapore research community. Last year, we announced our next generation supercomputer, Aspire 2, and it will help us to meet the fast-growing demand for high-performance computing. We expect to commission Aspire 2 later this year. I know that our researchers are eager to gain access to this new machine. So do look out for news in the next few months. Singapore's HPC community continues to grow. NSCC is working with the two healthcare groups, the National University Health System and SingHealth, to site supercomputers at their respective health campuses. These supercomputers will support Singapore's medical research and promote collaboration among clinician scientists in the Singapore healthcare fraternity. NSCC has also gained new partners in the past year. These include the Center for Climate Research Singapore of the National Environment Agency, which focuses on climate modeling research and prediction. The Singapore ETH Centre, which leads the Cooling Singapore Urban Heat Island Research Project, and Precision Health Research Singapore, or PRECISE, which coordinates the National Precision Medicine Program. These are partnerships which underscore the importance of Singapore's supercomputing in today's most critical domains, such as healthcare and the environment. These partnerships explain why future demand for high-performance computing will only get bigger. Smart Nation initiatives and the growing importance of digital tools like AI and machine learning also point to an insatiable demand for more and more petaflops and petabytes. To meet this demand, a HPC roadmap is being developed to ensure that the supercomputing infrastructure is progressively refreshed and developed to meet the research and digital needs of the nation. This is to ensure that there will always be enough HPC capacity for a research ecosystem to tackle major research challenges in the future. Our overseas partnerships have also helped to strengthen local HPC capabilities and promote HPC usage. Our collaboration with RIKEN's Center for Computational Science, the Research Organization for Information Science and Technology of Japan, the POSI Supercomputing Center of Australia, and the National Computational Infrastructure of Australia have all contributed to the success of SCA conference. I'm pleased that the SCA conference will add the Thai SC Supercomputing Center as a co-organizer for next year's conference. This is an affirmation of the growing importance of the event. It also reflects the good ties that we enjoy with like-minded members of the global HPC community. Our partnerships ensure that we can learn from the best and leverage one another's strengths. For example, Singapore researchers are among the first in the world to have regular access to the mighty Fugaku, currently ranked the world's fastest supercomputer, through a yearly call for projects. This is thanks to our strong links with RIKEN and RIST. We are looking to collaborate with Australia and Finland in research developments and green data center technologies. The HPC Center Leaders Forum this afternoon is a platform to advance our common interests in sharing best practices and in dealing with similar challenges in supercomputing. The second EU-ASEAN-Japan Symposium is another platform, this time with a focus on developing better supercomputing infrastructure cooperation and building up HPC talent. Our guest of honor is Dr. Janil Puthucheary, who is the Minister in charge of GovTech, Singapore's agency responsible for the digital transformation of our government processes and its services. I would like to thank him most sincerely for gracing today's opening of SCA 2022 and for speaking to us. On behalf of NSCC Singapore and our co-organizers from Australia and Japan, I would like to thank the sponsors and our supporters in Singapore as well as overseas for helping to make SCA 22 possible. I wish every one of you a meaningful conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ho, for the welcome address. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to deliver the opening address, I take pride in inviting up on stage Senior Minister of State, Ministry of Communications and Information and Ministry of Health, Minister in charge of GovTech Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Janil Puthucheary.
Ambassadors, Excellencies, Mr. Peter Ho, Chairman of the NSCC Steering Committee, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for inviting me here to speak to you today at Supercomputing Asia 2022. The theme for today, for this year's conference, Toward Supercomputing for All, reflects the growing accessibility and how we aspire for the ubiquity of supercomputing and high-performance computing. The theme resonates with Singapore's approach to developing digital infrastructure, making sure that digital infrastructure serves its purpose as a public good, one that is available for everyone. In Singapore, we've taken a proactive approach to planning and building our digital infrastructure, our digital utilities, making sure that these services, these platforms, these products are not just about transforming how government works and does its business, but that there are benefits, and these benefits are transmitted to the wider digital economy and the whole of our society. We have had to take the lead as a state in the past to build up physical infrastructure, our roads, our rails, water, waste, and so the state must continue to take the lead in building up digital infrastructure as well, especially given the increasingly critical role that this digital infrastructure plays in our interconnected and borderless world for many functions of our state, of our society, and of private businesses and individuals. But it doesn't mean that we build everything on our own, but that we take the lead and work closely with the private sector and partners like NSCC to consider these capabilities, these products, build them to meet current and future demands. One example where today in Singapore we take for granted is our 4G coverage, the extent to which we have our telcos participate, the private sector participate, and the end result of one of the most pervasive 4G systems in the world across our city, and we've already taken the lead to implement 5G standalone networks. For digital utilities, we've built up a robust national digital identity system with SingPass, currently 3.5 million users, and more than 1,700 services available through this national digital identity utility. Our e-payments infrastructure is another good example, a combination of both the infrastructure, literally an infrastructure, the backbone, as well as the services that are layered on top of it, like PayNow, which has seen widespread adoption, more than 3 million PayNow users and 230 million transactions in 2021. I realize for an audience that looks at petascale and exascale, 3 million doesn't sound like a very big number, but for a Singapore politician with our population as it is, 3 million for us is a large number. The investments paid off when we were struck by the COVID pandemic. There was a pressing need to shift our interactions, our functions and our transactions from physical to digital. I think there's been some degree of commentary that we've managed to shift this more easily than many countries, many other cities. Because we were fortunate that the systems, the infrastructure that I spoke about, were already in place and were well used and well understood by our staff, by our teams, by our professionals, most importantly by our citizens. The national digital identity, the e-payments infrastructure, helped public and private services go online during the circuit breaker. Our supercomputing infrastructure helped to support COVID research efforts. These are our public goods, and these public goods will help us to become a world-class digital economy and society, where businesses can innovate rapidly and competitively globally, and in parallel, where citizens' lives can be improved, and the government then can provide better services to all. To support this ambition, this aspiration, our approach to building digital infrastructure has 5 key tenets, 5 key ideas. The first is that the infrastructure that we build, that we develop, has to be trusted, secure, and resilient. We enjoy the fruits of many years of working together between government and citizenry, developing our social compact, our social cohesion. And as a result, today, we have a high-trust society. Our people trust each other and the state institutions. The state that enjoys high trust is in a good position to build trusted infrastructure. And one example of how we're exploring further, leveraging on this good situation that we find ourselves in, is what we are doing with quantum encrypted communications, enhancing our security alongside the existing baseline security measures. The second key principle is that the infrastructure should be aligned with international standards and be interoperable with international partners, seamlessly connecting us to the global economy. So we've embarked on cross-border collaborations in digital identities and e-payments with countries that are like-minded and have the same aspirations, the same advanced digital infrastructure. And one example is our work in how we might link PayNow to other e-payment services, such as India's UPI. Third, and related to the point on interoperability, our infrastructure developments must also look outward. We have to extend the impact of what we do here in Singapore in developing this infrastructure through cross-border partnerships and collaboration. One example is the recent MOU that we signed with the United Kingdom on digital identities cooperation. And this is part of a larger framework on digital economy, a digital economy agreement that we have come to with the United Kingdom, seeking to develop a roadmap to enable interoperability and the mutual recognition of identity systems. The fourth principle, in order to keep pace with advancements in the technology, is to conscientiously build for the future. We have to make sure that we have in our ecosystem, in our partnerships, within our stakeholders, the necessary capacity, capabilities, and skills to meet future needs. To this end, HPC, high performance computing, with its many wide applications in research, in industry, in government, is a critical area that will enable our aspiration for that world-class digital economy and society. We've invested in Aspire 2, Singapore's second national petascale computer. I'm told it's 10 times more powerful than Aspire 1, enhancing our computational resources and allowing us to meet the needs for HPC for many years to come, we hope. And lastly, the fifth principle, the government will seek opportunities to work together with the private sector to build this infrastructure, an important key principle in order to provide catalysis for the private sector investments, for fruitful public-private partnerships, and for the realization of beneficial outcomes in this digital economy for businesses, for your workers, for your employees, for our citizens here in Singapore. The ideas, these tenets in our approach are reflected in NSCC's work to build up our high-performance computing capabilities. NSCC has made significant progress in increasing the accessibility of HPC to the wider economy and society. One example would be the supercomputing digital sandbox, allowing researchers to test out proof of concepts and algorithms done via a user-friendly environment, enabling researchers who are not specializing in high-performance computing to use and benefit and grow from your HPC resources. You've also actively pursued public-private partnerships in NSCC to unlock the further applications of HPC. The agreements between SingHealth, NSCC, and NVIDIA that will be signed later today, they serve as excellent examples of the collaborative approach that you've taken to develop high-performance computing here in Singapore. These partnerships between the public sector and the private sector link the entire value chain of infrastructure, software, digital tools, and researchers to accelerate scientific outcomes and, in this particular case, support here in Singapore our healthcare and medical services. In the international arena, NSCC has taken the lead to establish global partnerships, facilitating cooperation, MOUs with HPC centers around the world. And these efforts signal our intent to accelerate not just domestic, but also cross-border collaborations in high-performance computing, benefiting research communities around the world. And the collaboration spans both the public and private sectors, sharing resources and perspectives that will help us to leverage these capabilities and push the boundaries of scientific research, better leverage technology to improve the way we work, live, and play. And I look forward to seeing many more impactful collaborative projects in the upcoming years. As we continue to do all this, to explore the potential of HPC, build the digital infrastructure, develop local capability, empower the research community. We have a lot to learn from partners and collaborators at this conference and from around the world. People who have been working in this arena, struggling with the challenges, coming up with exciting and interesting projects. And I'm confident that with your help and our collective commitment, we will be able to work toward a future where supercomputing is for all. And I wish you all a very successful conference ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I invite you to remain on stage a tad bit longer for a very special moment. Inviting also would like to have Mr. Peter Ho back up on stage, ladies and gentlemen, for this very significant moment, as we'll have the signing of agreement between SingHealth, NSCC, and NVIDIA. Now, we'd like to invite up on stage the signatories. Associate Professor Tan Tin Wee, Chief Executive, National Computing Center, Singapore. Professor Kenneth Quek, Deputy Group Chief Executive Officer, Innovation and Informatics, SingHealth. Mr. Dennis Ang, Senior Director, Enterprise Business, ASEAN and ANZ Region, NVIDIA Corp. Can we welcome them all with a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, shall we? Gentlemen, we invite you to take your seats. Now, Professor Kenneth Quek and Associate Professor Tan Tin Wee will now sign the first agreement. Gentlemen, please. Through this SingHealth NSCC agreement, a new supercomputer will be established at SingHealth campus to support medical and healthcare research. Now, we'd like to invite Mr. Dennis Ang and Associate Professor Tan Tin Wee to sign this next agreement. This signing of the Memorandum of Understanding is between NVIDIA and NSCC. Now, through this, the partners agree to explore collaboration to enable Singapore researchers with HPC AI capabilities to leverage on NVIDIA's pre-trained AI models, application tools, and expertise for HPC environment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the final MOU this morning, we will have all three dignitaries sign the document. This next signing of MOU marks a collaboration to accelerate healthcare research in Singapore between NSCC, NVIDIA, and SingHealth. All three gentlemen will embark in this process right now. A very significant moment indeed, ladies and gentlemen, for the beginning of today. They're on to their final signatures at this point in time, and we thank you for witnessing this very special moment with us. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we've completed the process. May I invite the gentleman to stand, please, as we celebrate this moment with a photograph and round of applause, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Very nice. Thank you, gentlemen. May I invite all, Mr. Peter Ho, Dr. Puducherry as well, to the front as we take a photograph right in front with everyone. I'll just step out of the way for a little bit. Thank you very much. A round of applause for our dignitaries up on stage. We now invite you to make your way to your seats on your left. Thank you.